Welcome back again, and this is part 2 of our quest for 11.3s in the Model 3, which didn't happen and only missed out by a houseonth of getting there. This is the second part, and there are some things we didn't cover in the first. First, we'll go to the last run, which was the slowest run of the day for us. Still an 11.4, still over 118. Away we go, and getting chopped by some big drag dodgers, hoping that maybe we could have got a bit of a side draft and a bit of an aerodynamic tow there, but no. It was quite a hot day. That doesn't bother Teslas, but it was hot on the drivers, and it was quite distracting because we had like an hour and a half shutdown out of the 4-hour event in the middle because the ambulance had the meat wagon had to cart someone off that did themselves a nasty of some description, and so it was a bit all stressful. I managed the charging side of it, which was fine, and the Bend Motorsport, Shell, V-Power, Park, whatever it's called, we'd call it Dragway at the Bend, actually, which is its correct name. It has some great 15 and 32 amp outlets in the pits, so I just left the car on charge like all day. So one run, you would go from, say, 98 to 96%, you'd plug it back in, be straight back to 98% by the time you can get in the line for the next run. So we just kept it topped like that, and it was great. I mean, the whole electricity cost of even charging it at the Bend at the supercharger, the fuel cost was like $22, I think, which was, it's cheap, and the rest of it was free, and so on. But while I was there, I did get a chance to have a look at what I think was going wrong with the car. Now, we all know, if you're a Tesla nerd like me, that one of the things they did with the Plaid and the Raven before that is they gave them cheetah stance or drag start, so car was a little bit nose down so that when it launched, it stayed flat and it gave optimal traction to the front wheels. Now, you can do this if you've got air suspension, but you can't do it in a Model 3 because they have a conventional strut arrangement. So, yeah, that doesn't happen. Normal springs, In fact, the rear end design's very similar to a VZ Commodore, but with proper camber control. So there you go. So one of the things you notice when you drive that car fast, and Tom noticed it, and he said it to me, is that it does tend to go bum down, nose up, and it gets a little bit wandery at the front. Now, that is a Model 3 trait. They hit really hard at about 30, 40 kilometres an hour. I think they peak at about peak powers at about 85 kilometres an hour, and from there they stay flat and start to taper. So you do get a fair bit of, nose up and a bit of wandering, and I was just wondering myself if this is affecting the traction of the car when it's been through a fish pond beforehand and has water everywhere. Are we just losing out on some bite from the front wheels? Because the induction motor in the front does a fair bit at launch. So this is what we had to think about. Now, there's no easy way to make a Model 3 stay nose down, right? You can use a taller rear spring, you can firm up rear springs. I didn't want to go to any of that effort, and I wanted to see, I was going to come up and design something like a modification to the lower arm that will stop the nose lifting, but then I found, I did some searching online, that such an anti-lift kit does exist for a Model 3 Performance. It's quite simple. It came from Whiteline, the Australian suspension developer, and you can post a picture of that if you want, Justin. There it is. And it's a set of it's no more complex than a set of caster bushes that change the caster angle by 1.5 degrees of the front suspension, and in the process reduce lift. Now, I've used a lot of suspension bushes and stuff over the years: anti-dive, anti-lift, anti-squat, anti-matter, dark matter, whatever. No, I've never found any of them do squat, diddly squat, right? So I bought these things online. I thought, whatever. I don't expect anything. So put them in, not super hard. You do need a press, so you do need to know what you're doing. Luckily, I have Rocco Bonfiglio, my head ex-Ferrari F1 mechanic, as you'll see there, putting them in. And, sorry, John. Don't be angry with me, John. It's all good. And I took it for a drive. Bloody hell. Thing's amazing. It actually did something. So even my computer was happy with that. I even got a little messenger notification then. Ding. Honestly, my backside is quite tuned to how cars go. I mean, it is my job and everything else, but this was noticeable. So it made the car feel, instead of being squatting and a little bit wandery where you can put a little bit of correction into it, not much, only a few degrees, but enough to affect your 60 foot time, This thing came up half as much and just goes. So I'm tipping the addition of these bushes and the anti-lift kit should give us a much cleaner launch. That, along with a deeper stage, which means when you've got the 2 or the 4 lights, you bring the top ones on, and as you come in and break the second beam to go into stage, the bottom 2 come on. You want them just flickering rather than driving past them. So I think your rollout's about 6 inches, you know? Yeah, thank you for confirming that. Your rollout's about 6 inches. So if you can get on the back side of having that beam lit rather than the front side, you've got an extra that amount to accelerate, right? Which will give you a faster mile an hour and a better 60 foot. So, you know, bracket racers use this all the time. So we'll stage very, is it deep or shallow? I don't know. But anyway, you stage it's stage as shallow as you can. How did I get that wrong? Anyway, whatever. You just bring the second set of lights on and just mash it from there, with the front not lifting as much and hopefully not having to drive through a tidal lake to get to the start line. I'm pretty convinced that 11.34 to 11.35 and 119.4 will be on the cards, which is making this a seriously fast little car. And if we can get it to that level, then, you know, you need some pretty exotic or expensive hardware to beat it. And I'll consider that, for this version Model 3, the legacy version as it is now, job done. So we'll give it one more crack and we'll let you know how we go. Thanks for watching Range Anxiety and being part of the team and supporting us. It's great. And Babe over here, he's not here. He would like to hear what you've got to say about him, and any suggestions that you want to see on Range Anxiety, comment down below, click subscribe and become part of the Range Anxiety team, because anytime you comment, if it's like half legible, we will normally attempt to respond. So thanks once more for watching Range Anxiety.